Hello and a very warm welcome to you, my dear students of Standard 8. Before I begin today to teach you with the third chapter of Civics, let me take this opportunity to wish each one of you a very happy, healthy and a prosperous new year, my dear students. Today, 6th of January 2021, I was hoping that at least in the new academic year, the second part of it, I will have an opportunity to meet you and will get a chance to teach you the lesson live in class. But not possible. But still, I always say this to you, my dear student, that only the building has changed, the teaching has not stopped. My only complaint today with you, my dear students of Standard 8, is that you are not watching the videos that are being prepared by the teachers. Even today, when I look at the views that each lesson of mine have, I see the number of students varies every time. It's my humble request to you, my dear students, that please start studying, because your unit test is definitely going to be in school. And before I begin teaching with the second chapter, that is the third chapter of Civics, let me bring this camera a little closer for you and show you as to what the portion is all about. If you look at the board, you'll find that the history portion, you have chapter number 8, that is civil disobedience movement, chapter number 9, that is last phase of struggle for independence, and chapter number 11, that is struggle for equality. The three chapters I have already completed before we could go in for Christmas vacation. I promised you to give the notes, but let me tell you, my dear students, I was little upset when I saw that these three lessons do not have 100 views also. It is only during the holidays, I think many of you have watched it, and it has crossed 150 now. So now when you have watched the video, I decided, yes, now I will give you the notes. So today, that is 6th of January, you'll get the notes on your WhatsApp. Now what are you going to do? You are not just going to complete the notes of this three chapter, but later on when I complete chapter number 3, the Union Executive, and chapter number 4, the Indian Judicial System, I will give you the notes of both the lessons together. Once when you receive this lesson on your WhatsApp group, it's my humble request to you, my dear student, please write it down. Develop the habit of writing. So total in all, you have 3 chapters of history and 2 chapters of civics. That is total 5 for your second unit test, which will be in the month of February. I'm very clear to you, my dear students. Okay. Now, another important request. Please don't keep the work pending, even if it is in terms of clearing your dues, that is your fees, my dear students. Please remember better that remind your parents to please come and pay the fees in school. The teachers have not stopped teaching, my dear students. I'm anxiously waiting, to meet each one of you, and I hope it will be the same from your side too. So, without wasting much of a time, let me begin with chapter number 3, the Union Executive. So, my dear students, let me begin with this chapter, that is the third chapter, the Union Executive. Now, when we talk about the Union Executive, if you remember that there are 3 major bodies: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Now, when we talked about the parliamentary system, if you remember, which is also called as the Union, it comprises of the 2 houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. This is already I have discussed in the previous chapter. Now today what am I going to discuss? I'm going to talk about actually as to who are the executives of the state or of the country. You need to remember again, my dear student, teen ka funda. The real executives are the Prime Minister, the President, and the Council of Ministers. Is it very clear? These are the 3 major executives of our country. Now, in the political system, when we talk about the political scenario as to political executive, it is the Prime Minister who is the political executive. Now, why Prime Minister is the political executive? For the simple reason, because the Prime Minister is elected by the people. May not be directly, But what do? We elect the member of parliament, and this member of parliament, if you remember the last lecture, I did mention that this member of parliament among themselves, they elect a prime minister, and therefore he is the political executive. Now, in terms of the president is a permanent executive. Though the post of president is honorary, it is the highest post in the country. The president is also the first citizen of the country, my dear students. You need to remember, he is the supreme authority of the country. But what happens in reality, the president just becomes the nominal head, Nominal. Sir, what is the nominal head? Only for the namesake, the president becomes the nominal head. Actually, who enjoys all the perks and privileges? It is the prime minister who enjoys, along with the council of ministers, because this council of ministers are again being elected. Again, in the council of ministers, there are 3 ranks. Please try to understand this, my dear student. So now, what are the 3 ranks in the council of ministers? There are ministers who are of cabinet rank, there are ministers of state, and there are deputy ministers. 3 ka funda. Try to understand, my dear student. I'm going very slow. In the case of the executive, now when you're talking about the parliament, you know that we need to have an executive. Who is the executive? The head. So how many heads are there? There are 3 heads, sir. On the top is the president, followed by the president is the prime minister, and then followed by the council of ministers. So they are the head. They are the executives of themselves. Now, these council of ministers are, again, there is a requirement, there is a qualification that is there in order to become a prime minister, the president, and the council of minister. Why? Because they are executives. Now, very first, when we talk about this, let me make you understand as to who can become the president. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can become the president of the country, my dear students. In order to become a president, you first need to be the citizen of India. He or she, whosoever it may be. Second important qualification, he or she must have completed 35 years of age. He or she must have, the post of dignitary at the highest level. That means he or she should be a recognized person of that level. And once you become the president of the country, there are certain powers which are bestowed upon you. Bestowed. What is the meaning of the word bestowed? They are being given to you. And what are these 3 important powers that have been given to the president, my dear students? See, I'm not following the textbook. Here you need to understand. My only objective is, my dear student, your concepts need to be clear. So he has 3 important powers. Now, what powers do the president have? The very first part the president has is the executive power. Now, sir, what is executive? As I said that he himself is an executive. He is the head of the union administration. So the entire country is under his control. He is the first citizen of the country. Please remember this, my dear student. All the appointments of the officials of the state is done by the president. The entire machinery of the state cannot function without the president of the country. All the union territories and border areas are also under the control of the president. Now, all this is what power? All these are his executive power, my dear student. The second important power that he has in his hand is the legislative power. Now, please try to understand, my dear students, so what is legislative power? Now, he has certain legal powers which is bestowed upon him, which is given to him by the law. He can address the session of the parliament. He is the one who passes the messages to the parliament. He can summon and prorogue the houses. He can dissolve the Lok Sabha. He can nominate the members. If you remember in the previous chapter I discussed, he can nominate 2 Anglo-Indian to the Lok Sabha and 12 people to the Rajya Sabha who may be from the distinguished field of art, science, literature and social work. No bill, please listen to this very carefully, my dear student. No bill can be introduced or it cannot become a law till and until it has the assent of the president. What is the meaning of the word assent? The signature of the president, my dear student. So these are some of the most important powers that the president has. Are you getting it? And most importantly, he also has a lot of other powers which I will discuss, my dear students, with you. So now this power which I'm talking about right now, my dear student, try to understand. I'm going little faster in between. I want you to now come to that level of understanding because you are in standard 8, my dear student. So the most important task, as I said, he has executive power, I discussed. Now legislative power. He is the one who has the right to dissolve the Lok Sabha. Let's say, for example, if the Lok Sabha is not functioning properly, it is not following the guidelines, the constitution of the country, he can dissolve it. He nominates the member, as I mentioned before. He is the one who issues ordinances. Even if a new state comes into existence, cannot be formed without the assent of what called as the president. So he has executive power, legislative power, again see तीन का फंडा, and most important, he has the financial power. Please try to understand. If you remember, I'm taking you back to the previous topic. Any bill can originate in either of the house. It can either originate in the Lok Sabha or it can either originate in the Rajya Sabha. But the money bill can only introduced in the Lok Sabha. लोकांनी निवडलेली सभा असते because the members of the parliament of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by we the people. So money bill that is introduced in the Lok Sabha is final only on his recommendation. Annual budget, annual financial statement is laid in the parliament on his behalf. Even the appointment of finance commission that is done for a period of 5 years, my dear student, is done by the president of the country. So this power which is being given to the president, why is being given so much of power, sir? If it is just the nominal head, if it's just the tutelar head, you need to understand the situation that the members of the parliament need to elect a president along with the members of the state legislative assembly. Now there are certain other powers also which the president has. He has the military power. Now what military power? He goes and fights the war? No. But he is the commander-in-chief of all the 3 armed forces. The Navy, the Army and the Air Force. And all the 3 chiefs, the head, are being appointed by whom? By the president. And it is the right and the duty of the president that he can declare a war and he can declare a peace. And no war or peace can be declared without the permission of the president. See, this is something very, very important that you need to know, my dear student. Are you getting it? Now, along with that, he also has judicial power. Now, what is the meaning of the word judicial? Legal powers. Now, let's say if somebody committed a crime, a murder, and he needs to be given a death sentence. Can the president let him go? क्या क्षमा याचिका एक मुजरिम प्रेसिडेंट के पास डाल सकता है? Yes. Even in the cases, extreme cases, you remember the man who attacked the parliament, his family had put, petition. It is called as mercy petition. It is not there in your textbook, my dear students. Mercy petition it is called as. What is the meaning of the word mercy petition? Shama Yachana. He can ask the president of the country to pardon him even if the Supreme Court, listen to this, my dear student, even if the Supreme Court has given a death sentence to a person, and if he files a mercy petition to the president, and if the president converts the death sentence to life imprisonment, it will be taken into consideration. Why? Because this is his judicial power. Is it clear, my dear student? So because he has this judicial power, let me again tell you that no criminal charges can be even imposed on the president of the country, my friends. Till the person is the president of the country, no criminal procedure, no criminal proceeding can be carried on the name of the president. Now, sir, can the president be removed? Yes, the president can be removed by the member of the parliament and by the members of state if in the charges of impeachment. The word that is used in a textbook is impeachment. Now, what is impeachment? If the president of the country violates the law of the nation, that means he gives any kind of statement or judgment, going against what is not in the constitution. In that case, the president can be removed from the post of the president. But thank you to Almighty God that till day today, none of the president were being removed from their post on the charges of impeachment. You all will be aware of it, my friend. Who is the present president of the country? It's Mr. Ramnath G. Kovind. Please remember the names, my dear student. Standard 8 students should be well versed. Who is the president? Who is the vice president? Who is the prime minister? But it is vice versa. We know all the name of the actor and the actress, and we know all the stories about them, but we really don't try to work hard in terms when it comes to our GK, that is general knowledge. I want you to be charged up. I'm just waiting the day I will get a chance to interact with each one of you in the class, my dear students. Are you with me? So the president has the legislative power, he has the executive power, he has the financial power, he has the military power, he has the judicial power, and that's not the end. Is it very clear to you, my dear students? Now, very, very important thing that you need to remember, as I mentioned before, and I'm repeating it again and again, that the president is not supposed to be charged under any legal cases. That means he is not answerable before any court of law. When he is the executive, when he is the head of the judicial system, when he can pardon somebody who is convicted with a death sentence, do you think he can be challenged in the court? He cannot be challenged in the court till he is in the chair of the president. Now, there are certain discretionary powers. What are discretionary powers? Certain other powers, you say. Okay, what are they? That when there is no single party which comes to power, let's say, for example, there is no one party that forms the government of its own in the center. In that case, with the suggestion of the going prime minister, he can appoint a new PM on the advice of the outgoing prime minister. Try to understand, my dear students. If condition applies is what? Only if there is no single party which is in power. Is it very clear? Now, very, very important, my dear student. He has certain very important power in his hand, which is called as emergency power. You say, sir, it's very emergency, urgent. So when can he declare an emergency? He can declare a national emergency. He can declare a financial emergency. He can declare a constitutional emergency. And it needs to be laid before the parliament for an approval within a period of 1 month before it is put into practice, into proclamation, you can call it as. I'll make you understand in a very simple story. Now, let's say one state, state A. We will not call any state by name because I don't want to hurt any state. But I'll quote you an example where this kind of thing happened. Let me quote the name. Chalo, no problem. Bihar. Bihar, there was state emergency that was being imposed. Now, what happens in the state emergency? The state is under the control of the president. Sir, why there is a state emergency? When the state is not able to function according to the constitutional machinery, that means no one party is in position to run the government. In that case, the president takes over the charge and he appoints the governor who becomes the head of the state. Okay, and he cannot do it all by himself. He needs to take the permission of both the houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, before imposing what called as state emergency. Now, what is national emergency, my dear student? These certain things are not there in your textbook. Sir, what is national emergency? If there is internal war aggression or there is an external threat from another country to our country, in that case also the president can declare what called as national emergency. And this happened during the time of a late Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi ji. Please remember this, my dear students. And the third and the most important is called as financial power. So now what is financial power? It is the president of the country who can impose financial power if at all there is financial problem or financial crisis, you can call it as. He can reduce the salary not only of the prime minister, the member of the parliament, the council of ministers, but everybody's salary can be reduced. But thank you to the Almighty that till day today, this kind of emergency, that is the financial emergency, was never being imposed on a country. Please remember this. Again, in the funda, 3 kinds of emergency: state emergency, national emergency, financial emergency. Is it clear with it? Now you need to understand, sir, who can become the president? There are certain qualifications. He must be qualified to be elected as the member of the house of the Lok Sabha. Who is we are talking about? We are talking about whom we are talking about? We are talking about the president right now. Now, see, in order to help and assist the president, there is something very important that is called as the vice president. And I'm very sure if I do ask you who is the vice president of India, I can challenge that maximum of you will not be able to answer. But let me tell you, it is Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. Please remember, the president of the country, Mr. Ramnath Kovind, and the vice president of India is Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. Now, the member of the parliament, that is there is an election. Okay, now he should be qualified. Whereas in the case of vice president, he should be qualified to be the member of Rajya Sabha. If you remember, the vice president of the country becomes the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Is it very clear, my friend? Now, electoral college. Both the members, I told you, both the houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, they both come together and they elect the president. Along with it, there are legislative assemblies of state and union territories representatives also involved in it. So that means the member of the legislative assembly of the state and the union territory, member of the parliament of both the houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, are the people who appoint the president of the country. And once a person is appointed as the president of the country, he remains in his office for a period of 5 years. Please remember, 2018, Mr. Ramnath Kovind ji became the president of the country, right? Who was before that? It was Mr. Pranav Mukherjee. Am I right? So now, after a period of 5 years, 2018, if Ramnath Kovind ji was elected, that means again the election of the president will take place in the year 2023. 5 years, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 22 complete, and 2022, 23, there will be election of the president. And who will elect him? The member of the parliament of both the houses and the members of the legislative assembly of state and union territory. And in the case of Rajya Sabha, he only requires the vice president is elected by the member of parliament of both the houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Is it clear, my dear student? President and vice president I am talking about. Now, who can remove the president? As I mentioned, I am repeating it, my dear student. It is only in the case of impeachment. If he violates the law of the country, then the president can be removed. Till date today, not a single president, right from the first president of the country, that is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and till today, that is Mr. Ramnath Kovind, none of the presidents were removed under the charges of impeachment. Whereas, who can remove the vice president? There needs to be a special resolution that needs to be passed in the Rajya Sabha. Why, sir, in the Rajya Sabha? Because he is the ex officio member. Okay, he is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. And if the members of both the house agree that they want to remove the vice president, then the vice president can be removed. Now, sir, what are the functions of of the president? The power of union is vested upon the president, my dear students. And on the advice of the ministers and the council of ministers, the union functions, my dear student. Vice president plays an important role in the absence of the president. Please try to understand. You have monitor and assistant monitor. When does an assistant monitor gets a chance to mind the class? Only in the absence of the monitor. So if the monitor is absent, the assistant monitor takes his place. In the same way, he acts as the president in the absence of the president. Because he is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he also, take care of the members of the Rajya Sabha. Is it clear, my dear student, about the election, about the removal, and about the function of the president and the vice president? Can I proceed further? In the entire this, I forgot to mention that along with the president, vice president, prime minister, there is also one attorney general. Now, who is the attorney general? He is the legal advisor to the president and the prime minister and to the government of India. Please remember this, my dear student. I am extremely sorry that I did not mention about this, though this is not there in your textbook. So the president plays a very important role. As I mentioned, he is the first citizen of the country. He, is the most dignified person, the topmost position. Okay. So he is the one who is responsible to appoint the prime minister. He appoints the the council of ministers on the advice of the prime minister. The prime minister then, on the consideration by the president appoints the chief justice of the Supreme Court. It is the president who appoints the ambassadors. It is the president who appoints the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court. It is the president who appoints the governor of the state. So all these power the president has, my dear students. I hope I am very clear with this. I'm very sure that though the prime minister is actually the real head of the government, but yet the president plays an important role. As I mentioned, that no bill can become a law without the assent or the signature of the president, though he is the nominal head, though he is head only for the namesake. But in our country, it is the prime minister who plays an important role. On papers, who is the head of the family? The head of the nation? The president. But who enjoys in the name of the president? It is the prime minister who enjoys, my dear student. Is it very clear? Now, if you look at the textbook, my friend, I did not, actually followed line to line or word to word. But I think I've discussed everything. Like, there is legislature, there is Lok Sabha, there is Rajya Sabha, there are executive, there is Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers. All this I have discussed with you, my dear students. I'm really, it's the very first lecture in the new academic year, and I really don't want to tax you. Now, when I'm saying the word tax you, that means I'm not going to take much of your time today, but definitely my next video in the next week when it comes, it will cover the entire topic of the Union Executive, where I will discuss in detail about the role of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. I will also discuss in detail as to how and what are the powers of the executive. I will also discuss with you how the Council of Ministers are being elected. I will discuss with you how the Member of Parliament also play, or how there is a party in power and party in opposition, and how do they play the role of a watchdog. All that I am going to discuss with you, my dear students. Now, as I said, my dear students, that if you have any doubt pertaining to how the president is elected, how the vice president is elected, what is the role that the president plays, how he has the executive power, the legislative power and financial power, how the vice president takes over, how he becomes the head in the absence of the president, why he or how he becomes the ex officio chairman, that is the vice president, how the president is just the tutelar or nominal head. All that, if you have any doubt, my dear student, please pick up a phone, give me a call, and I'll clarify all your doubts. There are only few students from 8A and 8C who make it a point to clarify their doubts. They send me message on WhatsApp and they clarify their doubts. This time again, my dear students, I'm not going to take you on the very first day on a dry journey. I want you to understand that the Union Executive is a not vast topic. It's a very small topic, but I would like to give you in bits. I don't want you to confuse you with the role of the president and the prime minister. Today, I only covered one part of it. I only discussed about the role of the president and the vice president, how they are elected, what is their role, what is their tenure, that is the period of that they remain in the office. All that I discussed with you. In the next period, I'll discuss with you the functions and the powers of the prime minister of a country. And that I will take the help of the textbook, and I'll go word to word if you want, my dear students. Please give me your suggestions and feedback. Sir, you like me to come on the camera live and discuss with you, or you won't like me, to show you the textbook and only you have the, audio voice, that is where you can only listen to me. I need your suggestion and your feedback, my dear student, because there are more 1.5 chapter that I need to complete. The Union Executive, I have only completed half more chapter I have to complete, and the entire chapter number 4 that I have to do with you of civics, because in total we have 5 chapters for your unit test. I hope my concept may not be totally clear, but at least I try my best to clear your concept, my dear students. If you have any doubts, please check today your WhatsApp group notes of 3 chapters. Chapter number 8, chapter number 9 and chapter number 11 will be uploaded on your WhatsApp group. It's a humble request. Please prepare a notebook now. If you have not prepared in the first term, second term, I'm challenging you, my dear students. We will meet at least once face to face in the classroom. And I'll take your notebook, correct it and return you back. Please start preparing for your unit test, which will be in the first week of February. Either towards the end of Jan, after 26th of Jan, or either in the beginning, that is the 1st of February. I hope it is a Monday, my dear students. Kindly write your index first. Write your name, standard division. See to that, write your index well. You don't write down the date. I'll give you the date, my dear students, on the day when I completed the chapter. So wait for the date. I hope I'm very clear. You'll write down the name of the 3 chapters. That is chapter number 8, chapter number 9, and chapter number 11. I'll give you the dates, my dear student. Okay, in my next video, I'll give you the date, but before that, you complete your notes. Only leave the date part. Is it very clear to you, my dear students? I hope you're enjoying my lectures. I hope you follow the videos. If you do not understand, my dear student, once again, I always say 3 R's: rate, review, and recap. See, in history, it's all about teen ka funda, right? Wish you all the best. Once again, wish you, on my behalf and on behalf of the entire management, the principal ma'am, a very happy and a prosperous new year 2020-21. Have a rocking day and a rocking year ahead. Thank you. See you in the next video, continuing with chapter number 3 of Civics, the Union Executive.